mental blocks or feeling overwhelmed, and one way to get over that, we can find ourselves in situations, in normal life situations, feeling overwhelmed because of certain circumstances around us, maybe plans, things are changing, life events are happening, and nothing, catastrophic by any means. So this is very much about just very good ways to combat and manage overwhelm, particularly when you've got a lot of things going on. And the thing to remember first off is about what we do with our information usually, and what we expect, and then what we can actually do about that. Now, I think, why do I go into the idea of kind of what do we expect our brains to be doing? We expect our brains to be storing accurately information, the mental lists, as it were, of what we need to do. It's not the best recording system at all. It will record things, but it doesn't operate in that linear sense where simply it's a bullet point. With it will come emotional balloons attached to the words, which create different impacts, different responses. So your to-do list, which includes shopping, may have the idea of a happy balloon next to it, whereas something like must complete on house purchase has a number of challenging balloons around it. And that's why the lists are misrepresented in our heads, because we have emotions tied into the words and the meanings of the words. Why do I mention this? What do I say about the brain? Because we often rely on it as our sole recording system when it comes to these situations. And what I want you to notice now, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think for a lot of people, when we begin to get overwhelmed is when we're stacking all these thoughts in our minds and we're keeping there, believing that's where we will retrieve them and access them. But after a while, we hit capacity. Now, whatever number that is for you, whatever situation is for you, is going to be different, but we'll hit capacity where we're hitting that tipping point where we'd find ourselves, we don't know which one to do first, it's all overwhelming, and we don't know which way to turn. If you can imagine that the operating system or the RAM on your computer is being reduced, it's being funneled down, so it's got less ability to manage, handle, and catalog these lists. It's that once you get into that overwhelm, it's noticing that it's that comparison of the computer, comparison of the RAM being reduced so it can't process as much as fast, and we get into that stage of overwhelm as we're storing or trying to store so many things. And if you can imagine, it's not just a list of things that we're storing, but the emotional balloons I mentioned also demand storage space in some form, and so it gets all a bit disproportionate in our heads, and all of a sudden we get overwhelmed and it's all just out of control sometimes. But how do we get out of that? What can we do to resolve that? One way that is really very useful, I mean, it's not everyone's going to get this, maybe a few do, and I'll give you a second suggestion for the rest. And again, as always, play around, see which one works. The first great response to feeling overwhelmed is get a blank bit of paper, a lined bit of paper, and write all that shit out of your head. Get it all out. Entitle it capture page, if you like. Entitle it kind of brain dump, if you want. But just start by getting everything out of your head. It doesn't have to be chronological. Just the first thing comes to you, then the next thing, then the next thing, and write and write. If it's a word, if it's a sentence, if it's a name, get it out of your head. Now, what's fascinating by that, now after you've done it for 5 minutes, for example, once that's out, all of a sudden a few more things will bubble to the surface, and you go, oh, then there was that, and this as well, and there's a few more, and it's like that they've all been hidden behind everything else that's got on top of it, and you realize, oh, there's something else going on, and it begins to free up that space. So and as you can see, the RAM space will get better, and the processing will get better, and you'll begin to remember other things, and the brain's going to have a bit of a breather and go, okay, fine, it's not in there, I don't have to keep it in so much, it's written down. This writing process is really important because it just helps to alleviate that pressure that builds up in the head, and it's a great first step when you're feeling this sense of, I guess, tipping point, when things are getting too much. We believe we should rely on our minds, like a mental math, it's about a mental math, when a mental problem solve. There's something said for it to a degree, but also our brains can only do so much, and it needs to be that we need to find a vent for that, and writing is one of them. Getting it all out, unfiltered, sporadic and random, whatever comes to your mind. Getting it out can be the first stage of actually understanding what's going on, what you need to prioritize, and it begins that filtration system. Okay, well, actually, there was this, but actually you'll make comparisons, you'll drop certain things, you'll have something to deal with. You'll have something tangible. It'll be on a bit of paper. I mean, paper or a whiteboard, whatever you use. And I've used this in the past, and it's a great way of just getting it all out. It frees you up to then start, okay, like, well, now I need to prioritize certain things, and you can maybe group things together, and maybe I'll do another vlog which is a bit more, time management based, goal setting and things like that. But for the time being, for those in overwhelm, the first step is to get it out. Another way of doing it, which, if writing isn't your kind of thing, you can do it to a voice message. I mean, you can do it to audio, just record it to your phone as it comes. Or if it's another kind of compromise between those 2 points there, set up a notes on your phone or your computer, and as things come to you, just note them down. One of the things I do is I have on my phone a capture note, and anything comes to my mind that I need to do, I get it out of my head and dump it onto the capture page, so I can think, all right, there's this. It's not intended as a to-do list. It's intended as a to-dump list. I want to get things out of my head and revisit that list on a daily basis, or the next time I can get the time to then fit that into my week if I need to. So take the thing I was thinking about, evaluate it, and include it for that week or the following week. As I say, it's really important we stop believing the brain is an accurate and linear recording system. It's not designed for that to-do list. It's designed to do a number of other things. And the more we leave it thinking we should remember the shopping list, the kids' school runs, the work projects that need at certain deadlines, or the emails they need replying to, whatever, that will be not making the best of your mind, best of your brain. Writing it down, getting it out of your head, it's going to give you that release, give you that perspective, which I know I go on about a lot, but it gives you a different way of looking at it. But once they're written out, once you can actually see them and acknowledge them, you're in a better position to do something about them than them being stuck in your head. Now, further down, if it becomes a task list or a to-do list, then of course there's a satisfaction of crossing things out or ticking next and them being done, and there's a endorphin rush, I'm sure, that's linked to that. But for now, clearing that mental clutter, creating the space, putting it somewhere else, gives the opportunity to do something about it. And I've suggested so many times, and I've used it myself, it is the best form of initial therapy when you're going through situations where you're feeling stressed. The bolt onto this conversation is actually when you are feeling stressed and feeling a lot of anxiety, it's about writing out even just bullet points of what's on your mind. It takes it out of the amorphic mind brain storage and gives it some sort of tangibility on the page. You can probably deal with it differently or have a different relationship to the words, which just gives you a bit of another way of handling it. So there's my suggestion. Take it or leave it. Love to hear from you, so please drop me a comment if you like, and I'll reply to you. Other than that, take care and have a wonderful day wherever you are.